How do you fault a student athlete for wanting to leave for money when coaches do it?
Again, I got my main man here on the Shadow League locker room. You know him. He's conquered the gridiron, and he's now making his moves in Hollywood. You've seen him in hit shows like Cobra Kai, Tyler Perry's Ruthless, 50 Cent's BMF, the homie Stevie Baggs Jr. What's up, brother?
Osei, grateful, brother. Good to see you again, man.
All the
We
time.
about to get
All
into
the
it. We about
time.
to get into it.
You know, let's unpack it, man. We're going to jump right in, Stevie. So, hot off the press, man, Ohio State Representative Josh Williams introduces a bill making it illegal to plant a flag in the center of the Ohio Stadium football field. Now, with this being said, this was done after the Michigan game where Michigan planted their flag on the Ohio State logo. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Bruh, it's laughable. With all the real things we got to deal with in the world, you mean to tell me we have time to make a pass a bill or something like this? Yeah, to make it a felony? Man, that's crazy. Crazy to me. I don't
Yeah.
think it makes sense. You got to separate church and state, and I know football is a religion to some people, so you got to keep the church and state separated, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. I understand. I'm just wondering if other states are going to follow. Maybe he's got to show the taxpayers that he's earning his money. Moving on, though, man. The top 10 Pro Bowl vote getters, all right, included quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Jayden Daniels, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. But the glaring omission was one Patrick Mahomes, man. What you thinking about that, man? Of course, back-to-back Super Bowl
Yeah.
wins, another potential. Are they disrespecting Patrick Mahomes with this?
NFL is a league that is based upon you're not as good as your last year. You're not as good as your last game. You're only as good as your last play. And so, in the eyes of the people, they only celebrate you when you're getting celebrated by the media a lot of the times. And if you're not one of the top pass throwers in the league, if you not have the most touchdowns and the most yards thrown, it's you don't get the popularity vote. And what have you done for me lately is how this league and how the fans are. People have a short memory, man, and no matter how great you've been historically, which he has been, uh,
Yeah.
but this year they're winning games based on that defense. They're not winning games based on Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball down the field for 300-400 yards a game. They're just not. And
Okay.
so I think that the fans are seeing that, and the lack of votes kind of substantiates that argument.
Okay. Say less, man. Let's switch gears, man, and get into the defense, man, with Micah Parsons. His leadership, of course, he's very passionate about the things that he's been saying, of course, in his headline grabbing. He called the loss to the Bengals the worst of the year. He also got emotional over a teammate's injury. Some say that he may be talking a little bit too much. What do you think about that, Steve?
I think it's easy for people to point the finger. For Micah, maybe this game was a game where if they won it, their playoff hopes would have still been able to be alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially it was a playoff game for them in that regard, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think people are taking it out of context. uh, when I hear pundits talking about he needs to be quiet or he's not, he hasn't made enough plays or whatever, I just think that in today's age of sports, you have to be ready for an athlete to be able to show and speak about the game and about their team without people being up in arms about it. They should be happy that he's giving them something to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was wrong, Osei, to say that this game hurt worse than a playoff game, because if they won the game, then they could have potentially kept their playoff hopes alive. Now to lose that game, they're kind of it's almost inevitable, or it's almost impossible for them to reach the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, outspoken leadership indeed, man. Eagles locker room, man. Those dynamics are getting interesting. They are 11-2. They're flying high as it relates to just being successful. But AJ Brown, Brandon Graham recently had to walk back some comments that he, recently made. Now, in hearing about this potential friction, do teams need strong locker room chemistry to win a Super Bowl, to win championships, to be successful, or can they rise above personal differences simply to get the job done? In your opinion?
In my opinion, it's the latter. I playing 10 years of pro football, playing high school, playing college, the amount of people you keep in contact with after you're done playing is that my best friend and my brotherhood. Man, no, you don't do that. You don't keep in contact with these people anymore. So it's like they used to say football is a family. No, football is a brotherhood of men, and we're a brotherhood while we're on the same team. And the potential for us to not be on the same team in a few weeks is very high in a sport where your contract is not guaranteed, in a sport where you can get traded, you can get cut, you can, so I don't think that having kumbaya moments as great teammates and we go out to eat and we go bowling together and smoke cigars and kick it makes you a good team. I think, I've been on championship teams where that was not the case, where we were not friends, everybody was not homies, and we won that game though. When it was time to suit up on Sunday, we put that Rydell on and we went to war. And so put the differences aside, we got to fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans don't really understand, the true Hollywood story behind the scenes. So appreciate that, Stevie. Let's talk about this transfer portal, man. College football's transfer portal is going down, and players have until the 28th of December, but many won't finalize their decisions until the spring. Marshall's football team is getting a lot of traction with their head coach talking about going to to Mississippi Southern, I believe, or Southern Miss. But what do you think about the transfer portal right now and how it's kind of changing a lot of things around college football? And obviously, the money is a big thing. So we got to come back to it.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is just like the old system. They have good and bad. Um, Things that are connected to them. In the old front, you got players running up and down the field, putting their bodies at risk, and they get no compensation for it. You have schools selling their jerseys and coaches getting paid a whole lot of money. Um, but the students weren't getting that money. Now you have NIL into the transfer portal. And so the NIL is its own thing, but then the transfer portal is its own thing, but they're kind of like one and the same, and so I think it kind of gets convoluted because a student might say, well, I'm not getting playing time. I could leave and go transfer. I don't like the program. I don't like the coach, or a new coach gets hired. So let me transfer. But then you might get a guy that says, well, man, I can make more money in this market being on this team. And the only way for me to get the funds is for me to go here. So it's like, how do you not, how do you fault a student athlete for wanting to leave for money when coaches do it?
Right.
And so um no matter what happens in this thing, no one's going to be satisfied. There's always going to have holes in the system, because it's made by men. And so you always know that you're never going to please everybody.
Yeah.
And then let me tell you this about the last topic. I just want to add this. If people at home think about their work life, are they friends with everybody that they work with at their corporate jobs or at their schools? If you're a teacher, you're not always close to other teachers in the building. So just they need to look at it like that. Well, we're still here to give these students a proper education.
Yeah.
I think it's the same way. I just wanted to interject that point.
No, that's a great point as well, man. If you had a young athlete coming to you, a young player coming to you, thinking about entering the transfer portal, what would be your advice to them?
My advice would be just like to let them know that the grass is not always green on the other side. To also let them know that if they continue to run from, potential problems or an issue with a coach, then that's showing a lack of stick to itiveness, a lack of grit that I think you need to have, not only as an athlete, but as a man. Um, Things are not always going to work out in our favor, and there's going to be circumstances that are, out of our control. And so sometimes you do have to leave a situation. It is unbearable, but I think you have to sign up for something. If you sign up for something, you have to follow through, and then, if the people that you signed up with don't hold their end of the bargain up, then it gives you an opportunity to leave. But just to leave because coach don't like me, or I got to fight for a position, like I got to fight for the starting position on the team. I don't think they should leave for that reason, because that's what football and that's what life is all about.
Absolutely. Man, listen, as it relates to trending topics right now, let's jump into that. I know that Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and most recently Joe Burrow's home was recently burglarized while he was away for a game. So as someone who's in the public eye, what would you say? What advice would you give players, about protecting their privacy and homes during the season?
Hmm. To whom much is given, much is required. I think that, the bigger your audience, the bigger your audit. And so when you have a big audience, you have people that are auditing you from all walks of life in all areas and angles. And so just being able to watch your movements. Don't always keep same patterns. Try to limit the amount of same patterns that you keep. But it's hard because when you have a big brand and a lot of light in a world full of darkness, those people will always try to attack you, man. So yeah, just protect your light as much as you can. That would be my advice. I mean, most of these men are young. And so they're gonna have the nice houses and the nice cars and the nice clothes and things of that nature. So people who hungry, they want to touch that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
No.
I think just being cognizant of your surroundings and the people that you're connected to is a big thing.
Okay. Sticking with the
That's what I
Bengals.
said.
Appreciate that. Sticking with the Bengals for a minute now. Running back Chase Brown made headlines by jumping into the AT&T Stadium Salvation Army kettlebell during his touchdown celebration. Now, fans loved it, but should players be more cautious? And do you think that the league should really loosen up on the penalties? Does it make it more entertaining for the game?
Yeah, I mean, man, the celebrations go all the way back to Billy White Shoes Johnson, man. I mean, and even before him. I think that there some of those celebrations can be excessive. I think you have no business celebrating if you're losing by 2 touchdowns. What are you celebrating for? You know what I'm saying? There's a time and place for it. I think there's an etiquette that's connected to it, but it's good for the game, man. I mean, it does make it more exciting. It does make it more appealing. And then sometimes when you see a guy doing a celebration and they tell you the why behind it, then it gives it some more credence, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say.
Indeed. Stevie, let's get into the hot takes. Fair or foul, man. So you already know right here on the Shadow League locker room, we're going to get into this rapid fire round. I'll throw out the topics. You tell me if it's fair or foul. If you're ready, let's get to it. Michael Parsons leaves the field early out of frustration during the Cowboys' loss. Fair or foul?
Foul.
What's your why on that one?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. You got to shoot in the gym with your guys. Um, yeah, I know you're frustrated. I know you're upset, but I mean, we all know what this thing called sportsmanship. We signed up for it. We've been dealing with it since Little League. You get beat, you still line up at the 50-yard line and slap the people's hand as you crossing it's just what you sign up for.
Yeah,
And and that will show and make people think the other side of your leadership, the other side of when you're speaking, to the point of last part of the conversation when Mike is talking, your talk doesn't hold as much weight because when you leave the field like that, man, you left us out here by ourselves. What if we all just quit and left before the no, we can't do that. That's
yeah.
fine.
All right, so Stevie, Larry Fitzgerald and Tom Brady announced Randy Moss has liver cancer before Moss and his family made that announcement. Fair or foul?
Yeah, I mean, I would want to see and hear what Randy Moss has to say about that first because we don't know if he has a relation. We know he has a relationship with both of them. So if they did that, they may feel like it was okay to do that. But then on the other side, I'm hearing that his son refuted that and said that that was a place for the family. So if his son is saying that, then I would probably go with family over friends, honestly. So I'm gonna say it's in the file space for them to have announced it, on social media or however they did it, before Randy or his family came out and said it. Especially when you're dealing with the specificity of what it is, I think that should be the family or Randy to be the one to spill the beans on that.
Yeah. Um, Firing NFL head coaches mid-season, man. Fair or foul in your opinion?
I think it's fair. I mean, the players get fired mid-season. So why can't the coaches get fired mid-season? Every like I said, NFL, you're only as good as your last play, not even your last game in football. So yeah, it's absolutely fair for them to get the axe. But the thing about the difference between the players and the coaches is the players, at least they get a guaranteed contract. So they still gonna get their money. Your player gets fired, he doesn't do that. That doesn't happen for the players. So, you know, this is why when people get upset at players for holding out for contract years and trying to get money, I'm not mad at those guys for doing that because this is my only guaranteed money that I'm going to get is typically in a signing bonus. Or if I get a new deal and you have to put these clauses in there for me to get guaranteed money. So yeah, it's definitely fair. It's definitely fair for the coach to get axed during the middle of the season. Absolutely.
All right, definitely. A couple predictions right now as we close things out, man. 4 games left in the regular season. What do you think about the Ravens in the postseason for them?
I mean, my thoughts for the Ravens are optimistic because I'm a Ravens guy. You know, of course, that's my old team, but Lamar Jackson,
Yeah,
as everybody knows, he's from my hometown. I love him, so I want them to play better. Though that I haven't been impressed with the way they've played. Their inconsistency. They'll have a great game, then they'll come back and lay an egg, and then they've lost to two teams that to me they shouldn't have lost to, and the Raiders and I want to say the Browns, and then I want to see them be consistent. I want to see them play a full game where everyone's in alignment, offense, defense, and special teams. And you got to think Justin Tucker, man, one of the most dynamic kickers of all time. If he would have been on point this year, they at least 2 or 3 of those games they would have won. So I don't know what's going on with Tuck. But as we all know, when you're out of the zone, when you're out of it mentally, sometimes it's hard to get it back. So we'll see. But
yeah.
I think that they're going to get it together. I think they have the resolve to pull it together, to make a good playoff run
Okay,
at the end of the day.
no doubt. Let's talk about Derrick Henry real quick. I mean, ahead of the Giants matchup, he cut his locks, and that caused quite a bit of a stir. Anytime you go through something that dramatic, maybe it's new energy. But what did you think? Does that have any impact?
Well, I'd say this, so as someone who had locks my whole career, and then after 8 years, I cut them off, and then I played my last year or so without locks. I think that there's definitely a spiritual thing connected to it because it's a part of you, but I also think there's liberation in it. And I don't know if people really truly understand the power of how liberating it could be to release certain energy and move on to a new. And so kudos to Derek for doing that. And as someone who's walked that path and been down that path, um, it was very liberating for me to do it. But there are times when I was like, man, hey, I do miss my hair. But um, I think because people are so superstitious, they think that if you do something like that in the middle of the season and you're having a good season, and if you have a bad game, then it's because you cut the locks. No, it's not. He's still Derrick Henry, and just stay tuned. He's gonna show you locks or no locks. He's still Derrick Henry. And quick point about the locks and him being a running back. Me playing defensive end, outside linebacker. When I would rush the passer, if the old lineman would grab my hair, sometimes they would grab my hair or pull it, and I've had locks get pulled out and everything in the middle of a game. And I'm sure Derrick Henry has had that happen for sure. And
Yeah,
so, when you're thinking about stuff like that, man, hey, one less thing for them to grab on.
yeah, no doubt, man. Stevie, always a pleasure, brother.